the beautiful, wonderful city of Kansas City, Missouri. Hey, I want to share with you a discipleship teaching called Unshakable Kids. Listen, I know very few people who don't have a heart for children. I mean, the babies. I love the babies. The kids, my goodness, they exemplify God in a way that you just don't see in adults. How do you build unshakable kids? How do you raise them spiritually to know that they're in the way, the word, and the will of God? And emotionally healthy children with so much mental illness and trauma and tribulation and triggers that seem to affect them. I want to give you some cues and clues from the word of God that you can raise your small children, make them unshakable, to know that they're emotionally healthy and spiritually strong. So look at the quote above. How cool is it that the same God who created the mountains and oceans looked at you and thought the world needed you too? What if you spoke that over your children? Children who know what mountains are and how broad and how vast oceans are. That a God above who made the mountains and the oceans thought about you too. That begins to help them to frame a God who can make them unshakable in their spirituality, in their emotional health. So if you're ready for the word, just type in the comments, I'm ready for the word. And let me give you a short devotional that helped me and will help you to make sure you're building unshakable kids. Let's go. So one of the things I want to emphatically say to you is begin to decree and declare that your children were born for a time like this. We weren't. God knew that these times were not built for our frame. These times were not built for us, but they're built for our children. I know for a fact I wasn't built for the 30s and the 40s. I was built for the time I was built for. But our children who are post-modernity, who are children of the 2000s, they're born for a time like this. They're native to all the devices and cell phones and technology. We migrated there. They were born in it. So God, you saw me, that's what you say, before I was born. Every day of my life was recorded in your book. Every moment was laid out before a single day had passed. That's Psalm 139:16. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. We've got to speak those kind of things over our children so they can have a relationship with God more than religion and church. They have a relationship with God. It makes them unshakable that God had foreplanned and forethought their life. There's a purpose, plan, and potential in their life, and you go to church to realize it and to understand it and to move therein. So begin to decree and declare. Did you type that? Did you say that out loud? My children were born for this moment, for this time, for such a time as this, as chaotic as it is, as different as it is for us. They're born for this. Let's go. So Jeremiah 1:15 says, before you were in your mother's womb, God says, I knew you. That's where we have to give them back to God. They are a chosen instrument of God. Before they even were born, God said, I set you apart. I consecrated you. I appointed you. That's what he tells Jeremiah, to be a prophet to the nations. God tells Jeremiah, regardless of what you think about yourself, let me tell you about yourself because I made you. And so you've got to have these fundamental values with your children so they become unshakable. That the God of the universe took time to make me. He knows me. He appointed me. I've been set apart. It's okay for me to look different and feel different and be different because God knows me. Notice what it says in 1 John 4:4. Little children, you are of God. You belong to God. You've already defeated and overcome everything trying to stop you. Great is he that's within you, is mighty in you, than everything you come across in the world. Let's build unshakable kids. Let's go. So here it is. Here's the challenge. You ready? Here's the challenge. When parents get right with God, an entire generation changes. Did you hear what I said? When parents become unshakable, they build unshakable kids. Hey, home, a place where mom and dad weren't always perfect, but Jesus stayed the center of it all. Man, that's what you got to teach. That's how you become unshakable. You don't have this perfect house, and you're not perfect parents, and we're not perfect people. Man, let me tell you something. Jesus is the center, the nucleus, the circumference. He's all of that in the bag of chips. He's my geofencing. He keeps me locked in because I'm not perfect. But when a parent decides to get right with God, stand before God right, not perfect, just right, let him do the correcting. It changes a generation. So, you got to say, I don't want my children to be what I want them to be. I want them to become everything that God created them to be. Listen, I have 4 children. They're adult children, so this doesn't pertain to small children, this teaching unshakable kids. But when they were little, I had in my mind what I thought they would be. None of them became what I thought they would be. And may I say, because I'm a pastor, I never wanted any of the four to be a preacher pastor. So don't think I wanted them to preach and pastor and take over for me. And no. I had different thoughts of what I thought they would be. They didn't become anything I thought they would be, but I do believe that they're walking in what God would want them to be. And that's what I want. I want them to become everything that God created them to be and not what I intended or wanted them to be. That's called releasing them into their destiny, releasing them to find faith through life lessons that life will teach them that I personally, as a parent, warned them, but surely could not teach them because life is a good teacher, isn't it? Let's go further. So one of the ways to raise unshakable children is, number one, play a game together. Listen, I'm not trying to be deep. I'm trying to be fundamentally sound. Let's build emotionally healthy children. If you play a game and your child has a meltdown over losing, discuss it. Ask them a question. How does losing make you feel? What can you do now that you feel like this to feel better? And how should you respond when you lose but somebody else wins? See, learning how to lose graciously will transfer to school and beyond. So if you're playing game with a 2, 3, or 4-year-old, you can teach these life lessons now that they will incorporate later. Listen, if I put it in them now, they won't depart from it. There's sometimes you got to let your kids be bored. You know why? Because sometimes life is boring. And I like boring. I was just telling a person, a colleague of mine, that sometimes doing nothing ought to be on the agenda. They was telling me, I don't have nothing to do. I said, man, nothing is good for the agenda. Sometimes life is boring. Sometimes we won't know what to do. Teach your kids how to figure it out. I love that phrase, figure it out. Sometimes allow them to be bored because life can be boring. Things just don't come and things to do all the time. Sometimes finances are not in the place where you can just jump on a plane and take a trip somewhere. Sometimes just bored. See, problem solving is a lifelong skill. It takes time to develop. It's okay to offer your kids grace while they learn this important skill, but resist the urge to always rescue them when they're bored. Let them figure it out. Stop being an enabler. I could say more right through there, but I'm trying to keep this where I'm not imparting my own into it, but just showing you, ladies and gentlemen, 2 quick things that you can do. Play a game, let them be bored. It makes them mentally, emotionally, and spiritually sound. Isn't that interesting? Hey, so in the final analysis, here it is. That's how you build unshakable kids. It ain't deep. It ain't hard. I know you had them and you didn't have a playbook. Nobody left you with an instruction manual. And this might be the first one you've ever seen, but don't let it be the last time you view it. So won't you share this on your page so somebody else in your family who's raising children can say, hey, I got something I need you to watch. It's only 10, 11 minutes long, but it's good for you to see because it'll help you raise unshakable kids. How cool is it that the same God who created the mountains and the oceans looked at your children and said, I need them for such a time as this? That's the beauty of this. It ain't you, boo. It's what God is going to do with your children. Get ready. God's going to blow your mind through your children. Until next time.